Good morning. Today, you have Clayton County at the Capitol. Why is Clayton County here at the Capitol? We have a question. At what point do we place the limits on the insatiable desire to increase corporate profits, especially when those profits come at the expense of our children and people? Today, House Bill 821 is being considered in the Rules Committee. In its current form, it eliminates $20 million a year from Clayton County Public Schools, the government, and the entities in our county. It also annuls our current federal lawsuit that we have in the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. Aviation fuel paid to Clayton County is only less than 0.06% of Delta's operating expenses. And I want to be clear, less than 0.006% of the operating expenses of Delta. I'll say it in another way. 20 out of 35,000 million. 20 out of 35,000 million go to our children. That's not a whole lot to ask. Why focus on this one give back to Clayton County, to our children, when clearly we're in a county in a situation where we're not getting $111 million a year in property taxes that could greatly improve the education of our children in our county? So why focus on taking back $20 million when we're already giving up $111 million every year? Why? It's the insatiable desire of corporate greed. We only want a solution. We're not here for any other reason but to get a solution. We want one to be modified from its current form to provide us relief throughout the current SPLOST, which ends in 2019. Or we would like to see some budget appropriation that will compensate our county for the loss of these funds. Or we'd like another solution, whether it's legislatively or otherwise, to ensure that our students are not negatively impacted by this corporate interest. It's very important that we share that we did not start this conversation. We did not start, as I've seen in the media, this fight. But I want to be very clear. When it comes to our children, we're willing to engage in anyone that we need to engage with. We respect and appreciate our governor. We recognize that he wants to ensure that we have a competitive state, a business-friendly state, one in which all Georgians are prospering, have opportunities. We commend our governor for that. We respect and we appreciate Delta as a member of our community. Many of our families, parents provide a service to Delta and are compensated. And through that compensation, they are able to pay property taxes and contribute to the economy in our county. So we appreciate Delta. However, today is about a moral principle. It's about a nation that continues to place corporate interest above that of people and children. At some point, that must be checked. That must be curtailed. That must be stopped. We must ask ourselves the question, when and where do we stop? Clayton County right now bears the brunt of House Bill 821. While this is a statewide issue, Clayton County disproportionately is affected. Our children are disproportionately affected by House Bill 821. That is unacceptable. Unacceptable. We are one state, many counties, but these are our children, statewide. And I would expect that everyone across this state, regardless of party, would support the children in Clayton County, even as we support the children throughout this state. We're asking for a solution. We want a solution that makes it mutually beneficial to all, to the state, to Delta, but most of all, to our children. We are smart enough, we're intelligent enough to determine, develop, and implement a solution that is beneficial to all. At this point, I'd like to share that we appreciate all of you for being here. We acknowledge that this issue has ramifications well beyond this current legislative session. Therefore, we are willing to sit down at the table with all parties. We'll continue to do so to ensure that our children always remain the focus at every level in this state, from the governor's office to this Capitol here, to our school system, to the government, to every city. If we're not making decisions in the best interest of all children, then why are we here? What is our purpose? Why have we been selected to be at this point in this moment in time? It is time for us to get back to some fundamental. As I shared in the State of the Schools address, it's time to rebuild, reform, and return. We need to rebuild our children, our school system, our community, our state. We need to reform our way of thinking so we will know that children and people are more important than profits. And then we need to return to how we think of one another, how we treat one another, how we consider one another as one community, as one community. All is a solution. At this time, I'd like to introduce in Clayton County to come to the mic and to share how important this is to the county at large, which clearly includes our children.
My name is Jeff Turner. I'm the chairman of Clayton County. Let me say this, it truly amazes me that Clayton County can be home to the world's busiest airport, home of Delta, but we benefit the least from it. You talk about this bill stripping away $20 million from Clayton County. That $9 million that comes from the county government and city entities truly not only affects our children, but our seniors as well. There's money from that pot of money that we spend on programming, on facilities to enrich and enhance the quality of life here in Clayton County. It's problematic to me that this bill, who was authored by outsiders, those who don't even live in Clayton County, can have such a dramatic effect on the people who live and host the world's busiest airport. At the end of the day, we just simply want a fair resolution to this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And I'll conclude by saying this. In order for all people to be lifted up, all people have to look beyond their differences and focus on the universal set of truths that we have, that it's important to be equitable, it's important to be fair, to do right by all people, because it's when you do right that right comes back to you. We, this generation of individuals leading in Clayton County, we will not allow resources to be taken from our children. We will not cut deals that place this county in a compromising situation for the next 10 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. It's not about us and the money that we make. It's bigger than us. The money we make will never take to the grave with us. But we will take to the grave that we did something that was right for not only our generation, but for subsequent generations. We did what was good for all people, not to enrich ourselves, but to enrich our community for many years to come. All we want is a solution. Thank you for being here, and we look forward to identifying, implementing, and celebrating the solution. Thank you. A few that we'll mention, as I already shared, is modifying the current House Bill 821 to remove the aviation fuel taxes and to ensure that it is grandfathered in, that our voters authorize the current SPLOST to include the taxes we collect on aviation fuel. We want the voters' decision to be respected, at least until the end of the current referendum. But beyond the current referendum, we expect a solution that will ensure that there are no gaps in our budgets, whether it be the school system, the county government, or the entities.